Imagine you receive a package in the mail. It's, heavily insured, requires a signature, delivered by a specialized courier.
Like it's holding state secrets or something.
Right, exactly. So you carefully slice the tape, you open the box, and inside is, well, an empty envelope.
Just an empty envelope.
Yeah, you turn it upside down, you shake it out, nothing. But then you look really closely at the envelope itself, and you realize there is a meticulously handwritten set of coordinates right on the flap.
Oh, wow. So the envelope isn't the delivery at all. It's the map.
Exactly. It's the map. And today's deep dive is, well, it's basically an exercise in absolute minimalist analysis, because our entire source material for today is a single document titled text.
Spelled T-E-K-S-T.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And inside that document is precisely one line of information, a single web address. It points to cats.com/beautiful-cat-breeds.
And that's it. That is the entirety of what we've been handed.
That's all of it. The digital equivalent of the empty envelope with the coordinates. We
Yeah.
have the locator, but we completely lack the payload.
Which assumes you even have the means to follow it, right?
Exactly. And while this might seem like we were handed just an impossibly thin file, it actually presents a pretty fascinating opportunity for us.
Oh, I totally agree.
Because we are going to analyze the actual anatomy of a hyperlink.
Hmm.
We'll explore how we label things, the architecture of how we categorize the world, and really how aesthetic pleasure is encoded into a literal string of characters on the internet.
It's a lot packed into a few words.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we even talk about where this link goes, we have to talk about the package it arrived in.
Right, the document itself.
Yeah. The document itself was titled text, which, across multiple languages simply translates to text.
It's such a foundational title for a document that provides, well, no actual prose.
The inherent irony here is just great. I mean, we have a document promising text, which usually implies narrative or information or like an essay or a list.
But it contains absolutely none of those things.
None of them. It just contains a digital locator string. It's like buying a heavy leather-bound book titled The Novel, opening it up and finding all the pages blank, except for page 1.
Which just gives you the GPS coordinates to the local public library.
Right. You were promised the experience of reading, but instead you were just given directions to a place where reading might occur.
It's a bait and switch, really.
It is. But I want to challenge the premise of this title, though. Does a URL actually qualify as text in a literary or informative sense?
That is a great question.
Because when I look at cats.com/beautiful-breeds, I just see digital scaffolding. I see, like, machine code dressed up slightly for human eyes.
I get that.
Calling this text feels like calling the wiring in my walls architecture.
What's fascinating here is how digital architecture has redefined the concept of reading entirely.
How?
Well, you are right that it is scaffolding, but it is scaffolding built from human language.
Right.
Like, a link isn't the story, but presenting the portal as the text forces us to really meditate on the signpost itself.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Think about how we navigate the physical world, right? A green highway sign that says Los Angeles 50 miles isn't Los Angeles.
Right, it's just metal and reflective paint.
Exactly. But it is text. It conveys meaning and intent and direction.
Okay, but highway signs are actually meant to be read by the driver. In the digital realm, UX design actively works to hide URLs from us.
That's true, they do.
We don't read the string of text. We click a blue underlined word, or we tap a glossy thumbnail image on our social media feed.
We interact with the mask, not the code.
Right. So if it's meant to be functional text, why do developers bury it under buttons? It just feels like a dead language to the average user.
Abstracted, maybe, but certainly not dead. The fact that the interface hides the URL from you doesn't mean the text isn't doing some seriously heavy lifting.
Because the computers are still reading it.
Exactly. The browser reads it, the internet service provider reads it, and most importantly, search engine crawlers read it.
Right, the bots.
Yeah, somebody had to design that string of characters. Somebody had to choose the exact words, the hyphens and the slashes to communicate to the server and the algorithm that there is something of value on the other side.
So by naming the document text and giving us only the URL, the source is basically asking us to strip away the glossy thumbnail,
Yes, to look at the raw linguistics of the routing system.
ripping away the abstraction. All right, let's look at the routing system itself, moving from the title of our document to the first half of this URL.
The root domain.
Yeah, we encounter this incredibly bold claim to authority. The root domain is cats.com. There's a certain I don't know, audacity to owning cats.com.
Oh, it is a premium piece of categorical real estate.
It's so foundational. Owning a primary categorical noun like that is like owning oxygen.com or gravity.com.
You are planting your flag on the entirety of a species.
But doesn't claiming such a massive broad umbrella actually limit nuance?
What do you mean?
Well, how can one website effectively act as the definitive hub for everything from like advanced veterinary oncology to historical Egyptian feline worship to funny videos of kittens falling off couches?
It can't, realistically. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, what you are observing is the evolution of the domain name system, or DNS, and the psychology behind that early internet land grab.
Oh, right, the 90s rush.
Yeah, in the very early days of the web, computers locate each other using IP addresses, which are just long strings of numbers.
And human memory is terrible at recalling strings of numbers.
Exactly. So the DNS was invented to translate those numbers into semantic words.
A memory shortcut that eventually became a multi-million-dollar branding industry.
Precisely. There was this huge rush to claim primary categorical nouns: pets, toys, cars, cats.
Because it's easier to remember?
It's that, but also because the internet is fundamentally decentralized, infinite, and frankly overwhelming. When a user types a broad inquiry into a search engine or simply guesses a URL in their address bar, they are looking for an anchor. Oh, I see.
Humans have this innate psychological need to seek out these definitive hubs just to feel a sense of order.
So a domain like cats.com is essentially telling the human brain, hey, we have categorized the chaos. Start here.
Exactly. It's an exercise in branding as epistemology. They own the word, therefore they imply ownership of the knowledge.
Even if it's literally impossible to actually have all that knowledge.
Right. Even if it is functionally impossible to contain all the nuance of the feline species under one roof, the architecture of the web address projects absolute objective authority. It provides this comforting illusion of totality.
Which is fascinating because that makes the second half of our URL wildly contradictory.
Oh, definitely.
We have established this objective, encyclopedia-like authority of the root domain. The architecture projects totality. But then we follow the URL's path past the /, and this rigid digital structure collides head-on with pure subjectivity.
Right, the specific slug.
Yeah, the slug is beautiful cat breeds. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, go ahead. The word beautiful is a subjective, highly personal aesthetic judgment. Yet here it is, codified into a definitive, machine-readable digital path.
It's permanently etched into the routing.
Yes. It's like walking into a massive corporate archive, finding a heavy steel drawer, and the label on the drawer says, objectively correct opinions.
That is a perfect analogy.
By coding the word beautiful into the URL path, the site is basically asserting that subjective feline aesthetics can be measured, categorized, isolated, and universally listed.
And that collision between the poetic and the programmatic is such a hallmark of modern internet architecture.
It really is.
We have a deep-seated human desire to categorize the natural world. Taxonomy is practically a reflex for us. Carl Linnaeus famously classified nature into nested hierarchies centuries ago.
But we don't just categorize by genus and species anymore.
No, we categorize based on aesthetic pleasure.
We rank nature based on what we find visually striking.
We rank it, and then, crucially, we format it for machines. Look at the syntax of that slug. Beautiful hyphen breeds. Notice the hyphens connecting the words.
Well, spaces break URLs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So developers have to use hyphens to string words together.
Yes, but it goes deeper than just preventing broken links. This is where search engine optimization, or SEO, actually dictates human language.
Wait, really? The bots are dictating our grammar?
They absolutely are. In the early days of web development, programmers often use underscores or camel case to combine words.
Right, I remember that.
But search engine algorithms eventually established a standard. A hyphen acts as a word separator, whereas an underscore joined words into a single unrecognizable block.
Oh, wow.
So if you want Google's web crawlers to understand that your page is about beautiful cat and breeds as distinct searchable concepts, you must use hyphens.
So we are literally taking fluid, subjective human emotion, like the whole concept of beauty, and forcing it into a rigid, hyphenated syntax just so a crawler bot can parse it. We are formatting human emotion to please an algorithm.
The mechanism of the internet basically demands it, and this architectural demand actively shapes content creation.
How does that affect the writing, though?
Well, consider how this impacts the actual writing on the internet. Decades ago, a writer might compose a sprawling, nuanced essay exploring the shifting historical standards of feline aesthetics.
Right, a real deep dive piece.
But today, because search algorithms prioritize clear, categorical intent, the writer is strongly incentivized to produce a ranked listicle. The architecture of the URL, beautiful cat breeds, demands a specific type of highly structured, commodified content.
So the slug dictates the journalism.
Pretty much.
When you, as a listener, click on a link that promises beauty, you aren't just reading an article. You are agreeing to the algorithm's definition of that word, packaged in a format designed to satisfy a search bot.
You are letting the URL draw the boundaries of beauty before you've even seen the page.
The structure sets the parameters of your expectation. You're basically stepping into their filing cabinet drawer.
You really are.
Which brings us to the crux of this whole minimalist deep dive. We have analyzed the package, the routing system, the domain's authority, and the syntax of the slug.
We've covered the map extensively.
We have. But we still have to confront the missing piece. We do not possess the actual text of the destination page itself.
Right. Our source document provides only the map. The payload remains totally out of reach.
We don't actually know which breeds the entity at cats.com deemed beautiful.
We have no idea.
And there's a fascinating curiosity gap here. It's a classic clickbait architecture, isn't it? We are locked out of the room just staring at the doorknob.
It's agonizing in a way.
It is. But I wonder, is the idea of this list actually more satisfying than the list itself?
How do you mean?
Well, if we had the actual text, like if they listed 10 specific cat breeds, the skull would be broken.
Oh, because reality sets in.
Right. We would inevitably argue with their choices. I might read the list and say, hey, why is the Sphinx cat not number 1? Hairless cats have this striking architectural look.
And someone else might demand only fluffy breeds.
Exactly. We would get completely bogged down in the minutia, debating the specific choices. The reality of the article would invite friction.
That makes a lot of sense.
But without the text, because we only have the URL, this link represents an unfulfilled promise. The map is flawless right now because it hasn't disappointed us yet.
This raises an important question about the psychology of the click and how we consume information online.
Yeah.
What you are describing is the dopamine loop that drives modern internet browsing. In neuroscience, there's a concept called reward prediction error.
Reward prediction error. Okay.
Right. See, dopamine isn't just a chemical that makes you feel good when you get a reward. It is the chemical that drives the seeking of the reward.
Oh, wait. So the spike happens before you even get the information.
Exactly. The anticipation of knowledge often triggers a far more powerful neurological response than the knowledge itself. The promise represented by the URL, the promise of seeing something beautiful or learning a secret or finding the definitive answer, it opens a curiosity gap. Your brain releases dopamine to compel you to close that gap.
And so you click the link.
You click it. But often, the moment the page loads and you scan the content, the dopamine drops. The reality of the list rarely matches the perfect, frictionless promise of the link.
That is so true. The URL is the hook, and the actual article is often the come down.
Yes. Modern browsing is essentially an endless pursuit of these promises. We scroll through feeds, scanning hundreds of URLs, headlines, and thumbnails, seeking that spike of curiosity.
Just constantly chasing the spike.
Exactly. The journey, the act of navigating the links, often completely overshadows the destination.
Oh my gosh, this explains the 20 open tabs phenomenon perfectly.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, how often do you open a dozen browser tabs because all the links look fascinating, and then you never actually read any of the article?
You just close them the next day.
Right. You were hoarding potential knowledge. The links were enough to satisfy the seeking mechanism.
You consumed a promise. You didn't actually need the payload. By giving us only the URL and withholding the destination, our source document isolates the exact moment of that dopamine spike and freezes it.
It forces us to just sit there in the anticipation.
Yes, we are forced to sit inside the anticipation without the come down of the actual article.
Who would have thought that a single line of digital text could give us so much to unpack regarding our own behaviors?
It really proves that data is never truly empty. The structure alone carries immense weight.
Okay, let's pull this all together. We started with a bare bones document, ironically titled Text, containing a single link to cats.com/beautiful-cat-breeds.
A very short chip on paper.
Very short. But through that single string of characters, we explored how URLs function as vital routing language. Even when they're hidden behind glossy interfaces, we unpack the history of the domain name system, revealing how broad categorical hubs project a comforting but, impossible authority over chaotic subjects.
And we examine the mechanics of search engine optimization, how the simple act of hyphenating a URL forces subjective human emotions into rigid algorithmic lists.
Yeah. And finally, we looked at the neuroscience of the unseen destination, how the anticipation of clicking a link often provides a greater dopamine reward than the content itself. So what does this all mean?
Well, if we bring this down to a practical takeaway, it is all about digital awareness. Every single link you encounter is a constructed piece of meaning.
It's not just a blank doorway.
Right. It is not a neutral tunnel waiting to transport you. It is a signpost laden with historical design choices, SEO constraints, and psychological triggers. It subtly dictates how you categorize the world and what you should desire.
So it's about seeing the matrix, so to speak.
Exactly. When you recognize that the architecture itself is manipulating your expectations, you stop being a passive passenger and start seeing the mechanics of the web.
You start reading the code, not just the content. That's incredibly powerful.
It changes how you browse.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you navigate your digital world today.
Yeah, this is a good one.
The next time you are scrolling and you encounter one of those hyper-specific clickbait-style links, the ones promising the perfect list, the ultimate answer, or the definitive ranking of something totally subjective.
Which is everywhere, really.
Everywhere. When you see it, pause before you click. Just hover your finger or your mouse over it for a second and ask yourself a very honest question. Are you truly looking for the information on the other side? Or are you simply seduced by the perfect organized promise that the URL itself represents?
Because the urge to search is often stronger than the need to find.
It really is. Because sometimes the map is far more interesting than the destination. Sometimes you open that highly anticipated, carefully taped package, and the most illuminating thing inside, well, it's the envelope pointing you toward the horizon. Thanks for diving deep with us.